Tell us, Stephen, what is equipping?
What is equipping? Well, I can tell you what it isn't straight off. It isn't just sitting people on chairs and talking at them. It's sadly ineffective. It's not equipping them. A lot of what, you go and you'll listen to a guy have a sermon and he insists on it. You have 3 songs, you take up the offering, you have another couple of songs, and then there's a message for an hour or whatever. You have a couple more songs, and then you go and have a cup of tea. It's like a ritual. We're not religious. It's a ritual. So you'll have a message, and it might be on love, it might be on whatever. And you ask people on the way out the door, what was the message about? Half of them won't be able to tell you, and if you ask next week, most of them won't be able to tell you. It's totally ineffective. The equipping or the learning that we need to do has to result in doing. We're like apprentices. We're disciples of Jesus Christ. An apprentice just doesn't learn the manual. If you took on an apprenticeship, say a butcher, and the boss gives you the manual, he gives you the manual, he says, study this, learn this. And then he comes back and gives you a quiz 12 months later and says, how you going with your apprenticeship? And you just say, well, I've learned it. I know it inside and out. And have you done anything? No, I haven't done anything. I just know the manual. I know it inside and out. You know, that manual tells us to get up and do something. It doesn't. They're saying they've learned it inside and out, but they're not doing. It's about doing. It's about being equipped to do a job. So then he comes back another year later and says, how you going with your butcher's trade? He says, man, I even know it in Greek and Hebrew. Man, I'm really clever. I know that book so well. But he's still doing nothing. You see, you're not a disciple if you're doing nothing. You're a theologian. So the church has got it a little bit mixed up. They're creating theologians, not disciples. Because a disciple is like an apprenticeship. We're not only learning about Christ, we're learning to do what he done. We're his disciples. You know, Jesus just didn't talk at the disciples or the apostles. He told them, now go and do it. You know, you've got to look at it. It's not just sitting there learning. That's what Paul said not to do. It will come in the ends of time. They'll come with a different gospel. They'll come with teachers to tickle their ears. They'll never learn and never come to the knowledge of the truth. To me, that's just sitting people on chairs and talking at them with nothing happening. Charismatic speakers. I've trained myself not to listen to someone just because he's got a suit and he's travelled the world and he's got a doctorate. He's got a ticket. Man, he knows everything. I better listen to him. I did when I was a young man. And then when I started to fast and pray and seek God showed me that's all. It's not real. It's surreal. The fancy music and, like when they talk and they got a musician playing in the background, and that's witchcraft. That's like setting a stage. If you're a musician, you know exactly what that is. It's creating an atmosphere for someone to talk. Now, if all the lights were switched off, all the fancy beams and stuff, and the music was hushed, how would that man sound? Because that's the way I want to hear him. And I want to see signs and wonders following. I just don't want to hear fancy words. Like Paul said, you show me your face, you come with fancy words. I want to see what you're made of. I should come and show you with power and demonstration. So the church should not consist of fancy words. We've got all these fancy talkers that have stepped up in the church, a lot of them school teachers, ex-school teachers. I'll point the finger at them. They've come into the church and they said, I can teach better than these people. So they've gone and got their pastor's ticket, but they've got no substance. They have the ability to teach from a format, but they're babes at their best. I've seen them enter the church, and I've seen them fall on their face. And they go on they're bringing the church, the education structure into the church. Treating people like school children. And that is not what a leader in the church should be. It's not about learning alone. And they'll go on, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Well, we've got that much knowledge that's coming out our ear rolls. We're tired of learning. The church needs to be doing. And with your leaders, like I've fronted a lot of them, there's nothing following these men. When they pray, do people get healed? Do they cast out demons? Is there miraculous things following them? Because I don't even want to waste my time listening to them. Because there's nothing. They have a piece of paper that says they're a leader in the church, which is totally erroneous. We're to choose our leaders on proven character. We're to choose our leaders. God backs up the ones he wants to lead in the church with signs following.
Amen.
He doesn't want us to listen to fancy words and have our ears tickled. He wants us to get up and do something. He wants us to get up and make a difference, not just to ever learn. And that's what these so-called teachers will do. They'll just fill your head full of head knowledge because they can't do anything else. I've put a lot of them on the spot. I've showed them people that move in the miraculous. I remember showing a school teacher pastor. He said, well, that will never happen around here. I said, you betcha it would, because you haven't got what it takes. He said, I put people on the spot. I call it what it is. You might say it's being rude, but I think they're quite rude, the way they sit people on chairs and tell them to shut up, and you can't even comment. You can't do anything. It's like, I left school a long time ago. I'm not going to be sat down and be told what to do like that. We've got to question what's going on in the church, because it's entered the church a long time ago, and you become normal. It's become normalised just to sit there and listen to that, and to me it's rot. They're figuring out all week what else they can try and teach you next week, but it's everything other than actually doing the job for a start. Learning has got to result in doing, and they should be showing you how it's done, but they won't do that. They'll say, that's not my job.